Hello and welcome to the news update on Papyrus Global TV. I am Christiana Babayo. Shehu Sani questions El-Rufai Ashiru electoral strategy ahead of 2027. Group urges Senate to accelerate electoral reforms ahead of 2027 polls. Court orders Inec to include ADC candidates for FCT Council elections. Kidnapped Kwara prince freed, father and others still held captive after banditry attack. Federal government calls for collective action to strengthen Nigeria's global reputation. Emir of Kano seeks swift justice after deadly killing of woman and 6 children. National Assembly Service Commission confirms new clerk appointments. In Kaduna State on Tuesday, January 20th, former Senator and civil rights advocate Shehu Sani delivered a comprehensive assessment of the evolving political landscape ahead of the 2027 general elections, stating that efforts by former Governor Nasir El-Rufai and Senator Suleiman Abdulkwari Ashiru to form an opposition alliance will not succeed in unseating the incumbent governor. The announcement was made at a press briefing held in the state capital, where Sani addressed mounting speculation that El-Rufai and Ashiru were building a coalition with opposition parties including the People's Democratic Party and the African Democratic Congress. According to the assessment presented, this alliance lacks the necessary grassroots structures and broad popular support across Kaduna's 255 wards to mount an effective challenge against Governor Uba Sani's administration. In detailing his position, Sani highlighted recent governance achievements under Governor Uba Sani's leadership, including infrastructure investments spanning rural and urban communities across the state's 3 senatorial districts, relative improvements in local security conditions compared with neighboring states, and initiatives aimed at job creation through youth and women empowerment programs. These developments were presented as indicators that the current administration enjoys sustained public confidence. A coalition of civil society organizations has publicly warned Nigeria's Senate about the risk posed by delays in updating the country's electoral legal framework as the 2027 general elections approach. The call was issued on January 21st in Abuja, where the group highlighted stalled action on key amendments to the Electoral Act and related legal reforms. The coalition, led by youth and democracy advocacy organizations, expressed concern that legislative inaction, especially in the Senate, could undermine the integrity, credibility, and planning of the next general elections. It noted that while the House of Representatives completed detailed consideration of proposed changes before the end of last year, the Senate adjourned without beginning substantive debate or voting on the bills. According to the group's assessment, the pause in progress has created uncertainty within the electoral reform timeline and risks leaving essential provisions out of the legal framework that governs the 2027 polls. Key areas identified as needing urgent attention include transparency measures, dispute resolution mechanisms, voter inclusivity enhancements, and constitutional amendments tied to electoral administration. The group has urged the Senate to prioritize clause-by-clause review and passage of the electoral reform bills promptly upon resumption of legislative sittings. A federal high court in Abuja has directed the Independent National Electoral Commission (Inec) to recognize and publish the names of candidates submitted by African Democratic Congress (ADC) for the 21st February 2026 Federal Capital Territory Area Council elections. The ruling was delivered on January 21st in a suit filed by 17 ADC candidates who challenged INEC's refusal to grant their party electronic access to upload nomination details to the Commission's portal. In a case marked FHC/ABG/CS 1907/25, the plaintiffs argue that they met all legal requirements for participation, including substitution primary elections conducted after withdrawals of earlier nominees. The court found their evidence credible and sufficient to merit judicial relief, including that INEC's refusal hindered their lawful participation in the upcoming polls. The judge ordered INEC to recognize the plaintiffs as official ADC candidates and directed the commission to grant the party electronic access to upload their names, which must then be published on the electoral portal in compliance with relevant sections of the Electoral Act 2022 and INEC's own guidelines. The decision affects candidates contesting various local government area council seats across the FCT, including positions in the Abuja Municipal Area Council and other councils. These candidates had previously been unable to upload their nomination forms, specifically forms EC9 and EC13, due to alleged procedural barriers related to a change in party leadership and portal access codes. In Ifelodun local government area of Kwara State on Monday, January 19, 2026, Prince Olaolu Olani Pekun, a serving member of the National Youth Service Corps NYSC and son of Oba Simeon Olani Pekun, Oniwo of Afin community, regained his freedom following a period in captivity after armed bandits abducted him on New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2025. The abduction occurred when a group of approximately 8 armed men unlawfully entered the traditional ruler's palace in the Ile-Ire district around 8 p.m., overpowering limited community security and seizing the monarch, his son, and several residents amid rising insecurity in southern Kwara communities. Oba Olani Pekun and other victims remain in captivity, with armed bandits continuing to demand significant ransom payments for their release. Security sources and community contacts confirmed that Prince Olaolu was released near a herder's settlement in the Ifelodun area and later taken to a nearby military base where authorities informed his family. He is currently undergoing medical care for the physical and psychological effects of his ordeal, reflecting the personal trauma inflicted by the incident. Kidnappers are reportedly demanding additional payments for the release of the monarch and other abductees, underscoring the ongoing challenge of banditry and ransom-driven kidnappings in the region.
We will now go on a short break, and when we come back, the news will continue. Stay tuned.
The Papyrus Global, we don't just cover events, we create cinematic experiences. From red carpets to birthdays, gala dinners, and your fairy tale weddings, we bring your moments to life with high-tech precision. Our gadgets are smarter, our lenses sharper, and our team simply world-class. Trust the Papyrus Global to tell your story in the boldest, brightest way possible.
Welcome back, and now the news will continue.
The federal government has formally urged Nigerians from all sectors to work together to improve the nation's global reputation, citing the need for shared responsibility in shaping international perceptions. The appeal was made on Tuesday, January 20th, during the Nigeria Reputation Summit 2026 in Abuja, an event convened to address how the country is viewed both domestically and abroad. The call to action was initiated by the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation, which emphasized that reputation is influenced by governance performance, security conditions, communication clarity, and consistency in national reforms. Officials pointed to the recent unveiling of the National Reputation Perception Index, an evidence-based measure developed by the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations to assess public and external viewpoints of Nigeria's image. According to the government assessment, Nigeria currently ranks in a low trust category internationally but has recorded measurable gains under ongoing economic and governance reforms. These include improvements in democratic stability, fiscal discipline through policy changes such as fuel subsidy removal and foreign exchange unification, and expanded investments in infrastructure, education, healthcare, and youth innovation programs. The summit brought together professionals, institutions, and private sector stakeholders to discuss strategies that include transparent communication and proactive narrative building with a goal of sustaining positive momentum. The 16th Emir of Kano, Muhammadu Sanusi II, has called for an immediate and thorough investigation into the killing of a 35-year-old woman and her 6 children in Kano State, urging security agencies and judicial authorities to ensure accountability. This reaction followed a violent incident recorded in the Dorayi Chiranchi area of the state on Sunday, January 18, 2026. The victims, a mother and her 6 children, were reportedly murdered in circumstances that shocked local communities and drew widespread attention to rising violent crime in parts of northern Nigeria. State law enforcement swiftly arrested multiple suspects in connection with the killings, and the Kano state government has since taken over prosecution to those detained to ensure due process is followed. The Emir's appeal for prompt justice occurred amidst broader concerns over security and the rule of law in Kano, a key economic and cultural center in northern Nigeria. Traditional authorities and community leaders are increasingly vocal about the need for expanded protection measures, better policing, and judicial effectiveness to deter similar tragedies. Kano state authorities have publicly stated their commitment to prosecuting the suspects through formal judicial system and reiterated that civilian cooperation with security agencies remain crucial for the overall safety of residents. The National Assembly Service Commission (NASC) has confirmed key administrative appointments within Nigeria's legislature, naming Emmanuel Odo as the substantive clerk of the Senate and Ibrahim Sidi as acting clerk of the House of Representatives. The decisions were reached at the Commission's 19th meeting on Monday, January 20th in Abuja, amid wider efforts to strengthen bureaucratic leadership at the National Assembly. Emmanuel Odo's confirmation formalizes his role at the helm of the Senate's administrative apparatus, following his earlier elevation to status in late 2025. In this capacity, Odo is now responsible for overseeing Senate operations, including legislative support services, staff coordination, and procedural administration. Ibrahim Sidi, previously Director of Administration at the National Assembly, will assume acting responsibility for the House of Representatives' clerical functions from February 9, 2026, succeeding the outgoing clerk whose service is set to end on February 8, 2026. The NASC also approved a series of additional appointments and redeployments across several directorates designed to shore up efficiency and continuity within the legislative bureaucracy. And that's all we have on the news update on Papyrus Global TV. I am Christiana Babayo. Thanks for joining us.